It's Time Warner Cable's local edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. We are joined today by Steve Bradford, member of the California State Assembly, chair of the Committee on Boys and Men of Color. And I think it's fair to say it's been a good year in terms of bringing awareness to this issue. You were in Washington, D.C. a few months back. Recently, the president, your friend, President Obama, came to Los Angeles. We know he went to LA Trade Tech, but he also met with some boys and men of color, not necessarily leaders like yourself, when he was in Los Angeles. Tell us about that meeting.
Yeah, we met with about 15 to 20 young African-American and Latino boys and men after his speech at LA Trade Tech, a little sidebar with the young man, and he just talked about My Brother's Keeper and the initiatives that we're doing through the Select Committee on Boys and Men of Color. Congratulate those young folks for, bringing their lives on the right track, and shared some of his personal growth stories of some of the challenges he had as a young boy of color.
I have to think that a moment like that can be incredibly impactful. I remember, I'm sure you know Supervisor Mark Ridley Thomas, and he has a summit every year, an empowerment summit. I think a year later he was at a juvenile hall and a boy said, "I remember you from the meeting." And that just connection helped that boy, and it's continuing to help that boy. I kind of think it's the president.
I wish I were or had that opportunity as those young folks to meet with the president and to be able to directly engage them. I mean, this was in a small room, not with a whole bunch of folks around, and it was the president and the Secretary of Labor. And you're sitting there talking to the president as a 15, 16-year-old, telling him about some of your struggles and some of the challenges.
Tell us about a few of those moments. I have to think that there were some real poignant, touching moments on both sides. Do you remember one or two?
Well, especially when the president told about his challenges as a young man, and it was no different, and they kind of, their eyes open up, and he said, "Hey, look, he's the president, and he had challenges with,
whatever it may be,
whatever it was." You know what I'm saying?
He grew up in the 60s and 70s and 80s, right?
And he overcame all of that, and I think it has to be encouraging for these young folks to say, "I too, maybe not president of the United States, but I can do whatever I want to do or become whatever I want to be, with the right support system and commitment."
You also recently had another hearing, this time in Sacramento, about boys and men of color. Talk to us about that hearing.
We had over 300 young folks from throughout the state of California who came to testify, as well as our community partners like Policy Link, the Endowment, and IDEA, and we pretty much summarized what we've done throughout the year. And last year we were very aggressive in bringing forth legislation that was supported by boys and men of color, issues that directly impact them. We sent 36 bills to the governor's desk, 16 so we introduced 36 bills, 16 got to the governor's desk, and 13 he signed.
There's one area that continues to cause some angst, and that is when it relates to higher education. It seems as if you look at the UC system, Latino admission is spiking a bit. It's actually past Anglo admission. African American admission, sir, is flat as flat can be, and well below the proportion of the state. 4% of the UC is African American, whereas the state is what, 11, 12%?
Yeah.
That doesn't feel right.
And those are issues that we're talking about.
Right, but even aside from the, Prop 209 question, what about just, what do we do now?
Exactly, and that's why we were asking for some additional money in the budget this year for direct outreach to these communities and trying to create that real portal and gateway.
Because we're getting to the point where African Americans don't even consider the UC, not because they don't think they're admittable. It's like, why would I want to go there? Stanford wants me.
Exactly.
Michigan wants me. Arizona wants me.
And some of them are looking at HBCUs, historically black colleges,
which are wonderful. Howard, Spelman. I mean,
Morehouse.
Okay, so I want to thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for being a voice for boys and men of color. His name is Steve Bradford. He is a member of the California State Assembly representing portions of LA County. I'm Brad Pomerance. It's Time Warner Cable's local edition.